Let me ask you a question. Why are you giving CPR to a relationship that's been emotionally dead for months? Why are you chasing someone who's running from themselves while you abandon the one person who's never left you? You? Tired of feeling exhausted and emotionally drained from chasing an avoidant? Learn effective strategies to break free from this pattern and prioritize your well-being. This video empowers you to create healthier relationships. Discover the secret to ending the relentless cycle of chasing an avoidant. This video provides practical advice and actionable steps to shift the dynamic, reclaim your peace, and create a more balanced and fulfilling relationship. You're not alone. Chasing an avoidant is a common experience, but it doesn't have to define you. This video offers a powerful framework for breaking free from this pattern and building healthy relationships that prioritize your needs. Most people believe they're chasing love when they find themselves emotionally entangled with someone avoidant, but that's rarely the case. What you're really chasing is the feeling of being enough. You're chasing the emotional high that comes when an avoidant person, who often pulls away, disappears, or gives you just enough to keep you around, suddenly turns around and gives you a sliver of attention. That attention becomes your drug. It becomes a hit of dopamine so powerful, it keeps you coming back even when you know deep down this dynamic is eroding your self-worth. This isn't about love. Love doesn't feel like anxiety. It doesn't feel like uncertainty, like walking on eggshells, like wondering every day if you're too much or not enough. Love is safe. Love is consistent. Love invites you in and keeps you there. But when you've gotten used to emotional inconsistency, maybe from your upbringing, maybe from past wounds, you start confusing familiarity with chemistry. You start believing that the roller coaster is passion, that the ache is love, and that the chase means it's meant to be. But I want you to pause right here, because when you're chasing someone avoidant, you're not just chasing them. You're chasing a version of yourself that believes that if you could just do more, be more, say it differently, look a certain way, shrink your needs, you'll finally be enough to unlock their full love. You're chasing proof that you are lovable, but from someone who doesn't have the capacity to love you in the way you deserve. That's where the chaos comes from. It's not just them. It's the internal tug of war inside you, between the part of you that knows you deserve better and the part of you that still thinks love must be earned. That voice that says, if I could just hang on long enough, they'll see my worth. But hear this, someone who is emotionally avoidant is not rejecting you, they're revealing themselves. Their behavior is not a reflection of your inadequacy. It's a mirror for their own inner conflict. The moment you shift from asking, why won't they love me the way I need to? Why am I still trying to earn love from someone who can't give it? That's when the game changes. That's when you move from chaos to clarity. And clarity isn't just freeing. It's a full-blown revolution in how you see yourself, your relationships, and your worth. Hope can be beautiful, but in the wrong hands, it becomes a trap. When you're caught in a push-pull dynamic with someone emotionally unavailable, hope starts to rot. It disguises itself as patience. It whispers, just a little longer, they'll come around. It convinces you that the next text, the next time you run into them, the next deep conversation will be the one that changes everything. But nothing. They stay avoidant, inconsistent, vague, and you stay stuck, waiting, overanalyzing, replaying every interaction like it holds the code to unlock their love. What's really happening here is not hope, it's addiction. addiction to potential, addiction to the fantasy, addiction to the emotional roller coaster that keeps your nervous system firing, but your soul exhausted. This isn't romantic. This isn't fate. This is chemistry rooted in unhealed wounds. You're not chasing love. You're chasing resolution to a story that keeps breaking your heart. And it hurts because somewhere deep down, you're hoping that if this person finally chooses you, it will prove that you're finally worthy, finally safe, finally enough. But hope, when misused, becomes a strategy to avoid reality. It keeps you from making the hard decision to walk away. It keeps you from closing the door because you think maybe, just maybe, they'll come back changed. You start romanticizing the very behavior that's damaging your spirit. You start believing the exception instead of accepting the pattern. And the truth is, the pattern is the proof, not the promises, not the late-night apologies, not the glimpses of connection, the pattern. Waiting on someone to become emotionally available is like waiting for a broken clock to tell the right time. Even if it happens twice a day, you still can't build your life around it. You can't live on crumbs and expect to feel full. And you can't grow when your heart is on hold, hoping someone else will finally meet you where you already are. The most dangerous kind of hope is the one that keeps you small, the one that silences your needs, the one that chains you to someone else's emotional limitations. At some point, you have to stop waiting to be chosen and choose yourself instead. Because the truth is, no amount of waiting, loving, or fixing will ever make someone show up who isn't ready. And that moment when you stop hoping for who they could be and start honoring who you are, that's when your healing begins. Every time you ignore your intuition in favor of keeping someone who barely shows up, you're negotiating with your self-worth. You're sitting at the table with someone who brings nothing but excuses, and you're offering discounts on your value just to keep them interested. This has to stop. Your standards are not too high. They're simply inconvenient for people who benefit from your low ones. Think about it. When someone starts pulling away, when they go silent, when they throw you scraps of affection after days of absence and you still show up, what message are you sending? You're teaching them that they don't have to do better to keep you. You're reinforcing the idea that their inconsistency is acceptable, that your love is unconditional, but not in the way love should be. It becomes unconditional in a way that says, I will accept less than I need as long as it keeps you here. But what if the real problem isn't that they don't value you, but that you don't fully value you? Because when you know your worth, you don't entertain confusion. When you know your value, you don't chase clarity from someone who benefits from keeping you in the dark. Love doesn't require you to constantly explain your needs, justify your emotions, or fight to be seen. And it definitely doesn't require you to compromise the core of who you are just to keep someone from walking away. Setting a standard isn't about building walls. It's about building doors with locks that only open to those who are emotionally mature enough to handle what you bring to the table. It's about making peace with the idea that losing people who can't meet you is a form of gaining yourself. You don't raise your standards to punish others. You raise them to protect your peace. The fear of being too much for someone often stems from past experiences where you were told to shrink, be quieter, need less, want less. But let me say this clearly. Being too much is only a problem for people who are too little. You weren't put here to be half-loved, to beg for attention, or to be kept on standby for when they're ready. Every time you uphold your standard, even if it costs you someone, You teach your nervous system safety. You affirm to your inner child, we don't abandon ourselves anymore. So stop negotiating. Stop shrinking. Stop making excuses for people who never earn the front row seat in your life. You're not asking for too much. You're just asking the wrong person. When you're caught up in the cycle of chasing someone avoidant, your energy gets trapped in a loop. You replay conversations, analyze their every word, try to decode mixed signals, and convince yourself that if you just say or do the right thing, they'll finally open up. But all that time, attention, and emotional bandwidth, it's energy that could be redirected into something far more powerful. You. The truth is, the same fire you're using to chase their potential is the fire you need to fuel your purpose, your growth, your healing. Chasing someone's potential is like building a home on sand. It gives you something to do, but it never becomes anything solid. You fall in love with what could be, not what is. And while you're busy dreaming for them, you abandon your own. You see, people don't change because you love them enough. They change because they decide to. And most of the time, the more you invest in their evolution, the more you lose sight of your own. You give up your passions, delay your goals, emotionally babysit them through their wounds, and call it loyalty. But loyalty without boundaries is self-betrayal. You're not their coach. You're not their project manager. You're not their emotional lifeguard. You're a whole person with dreams, fire, brilliance. And it's time to put that energy where it belongs, back into your own life. Start that business, take that trip, write the book, build the body, feed your soul. Reconnect with the parts of yourself you lost while trying to become lovable in someone else's eyes. Because when you focus on your purpose, you stop needing their potential to feel fulfilled. You rise above the cycle. You step into a version of yourself that isn't waiting to be loved. You are love in motion. And something powerful happens when you make that shift. You stop chasing people and start attracting them. The energy changes. When you're rooted in purpose, people feel it. Your standards go up. Your boundaries get stronger. Your time becomes more valuable. And suddenly, the avoidant person who used to consume your every thought becomes a footnote in a story that's now being authored by you. They don't hold your healing. They never did. Your power was never in their hands. It's been with you the entire time. You just forgot while you were busy looking outward. Reclaim that energy. Reinvest it. Not into their story, into your legacy. Now that you've seen the pattern for what it truly is, the chase loses its illusion. No more dressing it up as love. No more calling inconsistency a connection. You can only heal when you stop lying to yourself. You've spent enough time questioning your worth, trying to earn love that should have been mutual from the start. You've twisted yourself in knots, trying to decode someone who doesn't even understand their own emotions. That ends here. This isn't about whether or not they'll change. It's about whether or not you're finally ready to stop abandoning yourself for the sake of being chosen. You've been choosing someone who doesn't even have the capacity to receive you. And now it's time to choose the one person who always needed your love the most. You. The chase has robbed you of your peace long enough. You've confused anxiety for chemistry, longing for loyalty, and survival for romance. But now you're waking up. You're starting to see that their hot and cold behavior is not passion. It's emotional immaturity. Their silence is not mystery. It's avoidance. You're no longer trying to unlock their heart like it's a puzzle, because you realize now, love doesn't require solving. It requires showing up. You don't need another vague promise, another almost, another maybe. You need and deserve consistency, depth, safety, and presence. And that starts with offering those things to yourself first, without needing someone else to validate it. And once you make that internal shift, everything changes. You stop over-explaining, stop reaching out first, stop hoping they'll come around. Because now, you're not waiting to be loved. You're building a life that reflects love. You're grounded in your standards, no longer willing to water yourself down to fit into someone else's comfort zone. You're not afraid to be alone because you finally realize solitude with self-respect is far more powerful than attachment with self-abandonment. This isn't about revenge or proving anything. It's about walking away in peace, because your energy is too sacred to be spent convincing someone to care. So let them go, not with bitterness, not with blame, but with clarity. You are no longer the person who begs, who waits, who chases. You are the person who leads, who rises, who chooses. You now understand that the relationship you have with yourself sets the tone for every connection in your life. And from this day forward, you vow to never again chase someone who isn't even standing still. You're done trying to get water from a dry well. You're walking away not because you weren't enough, but because you finally remember that you've always been more than enough. And you're done forgetting that. Thank you for being here, for listening with an open heart, and for giving yourself permission to hear the truth you may have been avoiding. If this message spoke to your soul, then it was meant for you. Growth isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. Remember, you don't need to chase what's already yours. You don't need to beg for love that's aligned. And you never, ever have to abandon yourself just to feel close to someone else. If this resonated, feel free to share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your healing creates space for others to rise too. Until next time, stay grounded, stay bold, and most of all, stay true to you. Thank you, and goodbye for now.